They told you that you could be everything at once. Strong, confident, rich, calm, disciplined, successful, mentally unbreakable, emotionally available, spiritually aligned, physically perfect, socially admired, and always in control. They didn't say it directly, but they showed it to you every single day. On your phone, on your screen, in quotes, in reels, in highlight clips. They sold you an image of a human being that doesn't exist, and then they quietly watched as you started hating yourself for not becoming it. Because here's the part nobody warned you about. Trying to be everything at once doesn't make you powerful. It fractures you. It pulls you in 10 directions at the same time until you're exhausted, confused, and silently ashamed. You wake up already behind. You go to sleep feeling guilty. You're not lazy. You're overloaded. You're not weak. You're drowning under impossible expectations. But instead of questioning the standard, you question yourself. You scroll past a man who is rich by 25, calm like a monk, built like a soldier, confident like a king, disciplined like a machine, and smiling like life has never touched him. And in that moment, something inside you quietly breaks. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a small crack. A thought you never say out loud, why am I not there yet? And that thought repeats every day until it becomes your identity. Nobody told you that strength requires chaos, that confidence comes from failure, that wealth demands obsession, and that calmness only comes after storms. They just showed you the finished product and hid the cost. They hid the years of imbalance. They hid the anxiety. They hid the sacrifices. They hid the seasons where one area of life grows while the others rot. And now you think something is wrong with you because your life isn't perfectly balanced. Let me tell you the truth. That will either free you or offend you. Balance is a luxury you earn later, not a requirement you start with. Trying to be calm while you're still hungry will make you numb. Trying to be confident before you've failed will make you delusional. Trying to be rich while protecting comfort will make you average. Trying to be strong without pressure will make you fragile. You were never meant to be all things at all times. You were meant to be dangerously focused on one thing at a time. But the world doesn't profit from that truth. The world profits when you feel behind, when you feel inadequate, when you feel like you need one more book, one more course, one more routine, one more mindset shift to finally become enough. And so you run. From the gym to the grind, from meditation to money, from hustle to healing, from discipline to self-love, constantly switching masks, strong today, calm tomorrow, hungry the next day, and exhausted every day. You don't feel like a human anymore. You feel like a project that's never finished. Here's the brutal reality. No motivational poster will admit every level of greatness requires neglecting something else. Every strong man has seasons where he is not calm. Every rich man has seasons where he is not present. Every disciplined person has seasons where they are lonely. Every confident person has a past filled with embarrassment. The problem isn't that you can't have it all. The problem is that you want it a lot at the same time. That expectation is not ambition. It's self-destruction disguised as self-improvement. And the worst part, you blame yourself. You say you're inconsistent. You say you lack discipline. You say you need to do better, but you never stop to question the insanity of the standard you're chasing. You never ask who decided that you must be emotionally calm while financially unstable, spiritually grounded while mentally exhausted, physically elite while working 12 hours a day. Your nervous system wasn't designed for that contradiction. Your mind wasn't built for that pressure. Your soul, isn't meant to be constantly judged by a highlight reel. This is why you feel tired even when you rest. This is why motivation doesn't last. This is why discipline feels heavy instead of empowering. You're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because you're trying to live 10 lives at once. And until you understand this, no amount of motivation will save you. Because the truth is harsh, but it's freeing. You don't need to be everything right now. You need to choose what season you're in, and most people never do. They tell you to be calm, to breathe, to slow down, to stay peaceful, to not stress, to protect your energy, to stay unbothered. They tell you this while you're still broke, still uncertain, still unproven, still watching time slip through your fingers. And you try, you really try. You meditate in the morning, journal your thoughts, repeat affirmations about abundance and peace, and then reality hits you in the face before noon. Bills, comparison, regret, fear, and suddenly you feel like a failure for not being calm enough. But here's the truth. Nobody has the courage to say calmness is not the starting point. It's the reward. You are not supposed to be calm when you are still hungry. Hunger creates noise. Hunger creates urgency. Hunger creates restlessness. And that's not a flaw. That's fuel. Trying to force peace too early doesn't make you evolved. It makes you numb. You're not peaceful. You're sedated. You're not centered. You're suppressing pressure that needs to be used, not silence. Every great transformation in history started with dissatisfaction, with discomfort, with an internal refusal to accept the current reality. But modern motivation culture shames that feeling. It calls it negative. It calls it low vibration. So you learn to smile while panicking inside. You learn to say, I'm grateful while secretly terrified. You learn to pretend you're okay while knowing deep down you're falling behind. And that split, that gap between what you feel and what you're told you should feel, slowly erodes your confidence. Let me be clear, you don't lack peace, you lack progress. And no amount of breathing exercises will fix a life that isn't moving forward. Calmness without momentum turns into stagnation. And stagnation turns into quiet despair. That's why so many people feel burned out, even though they're not actually building anything meaningful. They're stuck in a loop of self-regulation without self-direction. You were told to heal before you hustle. But nobody told you that healing without purpose becomes rumination. You sit with your thoughts so long that they start turning against you. You overanalyze, you self-diagnose, you label every discomfort as trauma instead of recognizing it as growth-demanding effort. Not everything painful is damage. Some pain is simply the friction of becoming something you're not yet strong enough to be. And then there's confidence. Oh, confidence. They tell you to be confident before you've done anything, to act like it, to believe in yourself. But belief without evidence is fragile. It cracks the moment reality pushes back. Real confidence isn't calm. It's loud in the beginning. It's shaky. It's aggressive. It's built through repeated exposure to fear, embarrassment, rejection, and failure. Confidence is earned through action, not imagined in silence. Trying to be calm, confident, composed while your life is still unstable is like trying to decorate a house that doesn't have a foundation. One small shake and everything collapses. That's why your motivation feels fake. That's why discipline doesn't stick. You're trying to operate at an emotional level your life hasn't earned yet. And wealth? Wealth is the most dishonest part of this fantasy. They show you rich people sipping coffee, traveling relaxed, detached, peaceful. They don't show you the obsession, the tunnel vision, the seasons of imbalance where relationship P.S. suffer, sleep is sacrificed, and comfort is postponed. Wealth is chaotic before it's calm, loud before it's quiet, stressful before it's stable. Anyone telling you otherwise is selling you an image, not a path. So when you try to be rich and calm at the same time, you short-circuit yourself. You hesitate when you should push, you retreat when you should endure, you mistake discomfort for danger, and slowly, without realizing it, you start choosing emotional safety over progress. You stay where you are because it feels peaceful, but deep down you know it's just familiar. Here's the harsh truth that will set you free. If you let it, you are allowed to be intense in your building phase. You are allowed to be restless. You are allowed to feel pressure. You are allowed to want more aggressively than you want comfort. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you honest. The problem isn't that you're not calm enough. The problem is that you're trying to skip the phase that earns calmness. You want the emotional state of someone who already survived the storm while you're still standing at the edge of it, pretending it isn't coming. Stop asking, why can't I be calm like them? Start asking, what chaos did they survive that I'm still avoiding? Because peace doesn't come from avoiding pressure. It comes from outgrowing it. You don't hate your life. You hate your life in comparison. That's the part no one wants to admit. On its own, your journey might actually be reasonable, even impressive for where you started. But you never experience it in isolation. You experience it next to someone else's highlight reel. And that contrast is killing your momentum. Comparison today isn't occasional. It's constant. You wake up and before your feet touch the ground, your brain has already consumed 10 examples of people who appear ahead of you. Richer, calmer, stronger, happier, younger, more disciplined, more admired, and none of them show the cost. They just show the outcome. Your brain doesn't know it's being lied to. It just knows it's losing. The human nervous system was never designed to process this many social rankings in a single day. For most of history, you compared yourself to a small tribe. Now you compare yourself to the top 1% of the entire planet, curated, filtered, edited, optimized for envy. And you wonder why your motivation feels heavy instead of exciting. This is how unrealistic expectations are born. Not from ambition, but from exposure. Repeated exposure to impossible standards rewires your sense of normal. You stop measuring progress by distance traveled and start measuring it by distance remaining. You could climb 10 floors and still feel like you're failing because someone else is on the 20th. And here's the most dangerous effect of all. Comparison makes you impatient with your own process. You rush growth. You want results before resilience. You want rewards before repetitions. You want identity before proof. And when those things don't come fast enough, you don't adjust the expectation. You attack yourself. You call yourself lazy, undisciplined, inconsistent, weak-minded. You don't realize you're trying to run a marathon at the pace of someone who's been training for 10 years. You don't realize you're judging your chapter 2 against someone else's chapter 20. And because you never see the middle of anyone's story, you start to believe the middle is a personal failure instead of a universal phase. This is where the fantasy of having it all becomes lethal. Strong, rich, calm, confident, successful, all at once. You see people who appear to embody all of it, and your mind assumes it's possible, even normal. But what you're actually seeing is time-separated success collapsed into a single image. Years of sacrifice compressed into a 10-second clip. Different seasons edited together to look simultaneous. No one tells you that the calm man was once anxious, that the confident woman was once invisible, that the rich entrepreneur was once obsessed and unbalanced, that the disciplined athlete once hated their routine. You just see the finished version and assume they were always like that. And that assumption quietly destroys your patience. Patience doesn't feel noble when you're constantly reminded of how far behind you are. It feels humiliating. So instead of committing deeply to one path, you jump. You chase whatever looks fastest, whatever looks easiest, whatever promises balance without sacrifice. And every jump resets your progress. You stay busy but never dangerous, active but never effective. This is why so many people are working on themselves but never actually changing. They consume content, not challenge. They gather ideas, not scars. They want the emotional reward of growth without the physical and mental toll of transformation. And comparison culture feeds that illusion perfectly, because if everyone else looks calm, you think something is wrong with your stress. If everyone else looks confident, you think something is wrong with your doubt. If everyone else looks rich, you think something is wrong with your pace. So you start trying to fix feelings instead of fixing systems. You chase motivation instead of mastery. You try to look balanced instead of becoming effective. And slowly your relationship with effort becomes toxic. Every hard day feels like proof you're not cut out for it, when in reality, hard days are the evidence that here's the truth that cuts through the noise. Anyone who looks like they have everything is just in a season where the costs are invisible. You don't see the strain. You don't see the trade-offs. You don't see what they're neglecting right now to hold what they have, because something is always being neglected. Always, life doesn't allow perfection across all domains simultaneously. It allows priority, and the moment you accept that, comparison starts to lose its grip. You stop asking, why don't I have what they have, and start asking, what are they sacrificing that I'm not willing to right now? That question is uncomfortable, but it's honest. And honesty is where real progress begins. You don't need to be inspired by everyone. You need to be committed to your season. Because the fastest way to fall behind is to constantly look sideways instead of forward.